8 out of 10 people, a review is as good as a friend's actual recommendation.
84% of investors age 55 and older expect a high level of digital engagement.
That's mega.
Yeah.
That's saying that Annette.
Here we are.
Episode 3, Advisors Collective. Excited to be here with you. You did episode 1.
I'm back
episode
already.
3.
Apparently,
back already.
I did a good job.
Well, if you weren't with me, I don't know if I'd get anything done, in all honesty. So, episode 3, I'm titling this, it's not 1994 anymore.
Okay.
But I think you have an official name for it.
Yeah, it's a little dry, but it's accurate. Marketing and Tech for Advisors, Transforming Your Practice into the Digital Age.
So it's not 1994.
Basically,
okay,
that's a good summary.
I love it. All right. So Al Gore invents the internet, and then now it's changed everything for financial advisors.
That's right.
Okay.
I feel like back then, it was kind of like cute, like the internet. It was like, oh, you can do. Oh, nice.
That's like Katie Couric on the news, like making fun of like this thing called the internet.
Yeah, or as my grandma calls it, the interwebs. Which I think it's adorable.
I have a lot of my clients that I think are still at that place, which is fair for that market, right?
That's right.
So excited to talk about this just because tech has changed everything. I mean, from all the way down to the stuff like compliance.
Oh, my goodness.
Right? And some of the regulatory agencies are a bit behind on how fast things changed, but then they haven't changed on their side. So we'll be doing Advisors Collectives for Compliance in the 21st century. We're going to be talking about that a lot because it has a lot to do with the actual real challenge here that's going on in America, which is in the world. Everything's on the internet, but your financial advisor isn't.
Yeah, right.
Like, how does that make any sense? And how do we fix that regulatorily, compliantly, and everything else? So, anyways, excited about this one.
Yeah, I've been a little surprised how retro the financial industry is in terms of all of these things.
Yeah, so you came and started working with the RIA that I'm affiliated with. How long ago was that?
September of, so coming up on a year.
Coming up on a year, okay. And you came from?
The marketing world.
Marketing world, right?
Yeah, everything is digital.
Totally digital forward. And then you come over and you're like,
we can't do that? Oh, we can't do that either?
Can't do that? Can't say that?
We can, but... So I've been learning.
Yeah. It's been a big wake-up call, probably, to our industry. But,
it's also been great because I feel like I can bring a lot of value. It's like, I'm talking about something that's simple in my world, but in this world, it's still new and exciting.
Yeah. So
I'm like, okay, let's get into it. And you've been in financial planning, the financial world, for a while.
Technically 06.
Yeah.
Jan 12, 2006.
Yeah. So one thing I really want to talk about is the all-important topic of generating leads, because, embracing all these things we're going to talk about today can really help with that. But I'm curious how you did it back in the day.
Well, I think, okay, so there's how I actually, got leads. And then every company was different depending on where you start your journey kind of thing. Edward Jones was famous for knocking on doors, literally going into neighborhoods and knocking on doors, like door to door, which I did some of that for sure.
Takes guts.
Canvassing neighborhoods in my young 20s for sure. That takes guts. Takes more of a, I don't know, maybe your spirit. You have to have the personality. I think that's why the turnover rate, especially back then, used to be really, really high. I don't know statistically if we're much better than we were under the old methods, but people just couldn't make it. I mean, you're literally told, like, hey, go start knocking on doors, or every time you're anywhere, you're in Starbucks, you're in Walmart, you're in the grocery store, you see somebody that you could potentially strike a conversation with, a lot of prospectors call 3-foot rule.
Yeah.
Like if they come within 3 feet of you, you got to talk to them. And if they're more than 3 feet, get closer, right? So it's like what we'd always say. So that's the old method. I mean, literally meet people.
Interesting.
Give out your card, get people's phone numbers, and get them into your Rolodex, which back then was really, I had a 3x5 box of 3x5 note cards with dates and days, and it was organized when people wanted me to call them back and so on and so forth. And then I just cataloged it inside of that
wow.
note box.
That's old school.
Yeah, it's old school. Yeah, for sure. And I'm doing that in my 20s, and the internet does exist. So I'm sitting there going, this is how y'all do things. This is psychotic. And that's how crazy it felt then at that time, you know. And now to know that people are still doing that 18 years later is really crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the equivalent of the 3-foot rule for digital now is like you've gotten someone to your website, like convert them. Like you've got the X out box, you got a pop up, you've got like if they're here, you better have a strategy to get them in.
Give them all the opportunities.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. There's lots of things you can do now though, because back then it was like mailers. You know, you could direct mail.
Yep.
You could meet people in the way I was saying, but then the other popular one was direct mail, inviting people to dinner seminars, that kind of stuff, and try to get people in person. That was really popular as well. I mean, there was a bunch of other methods, but all of them basically were somewhat out of your control as the follow-up went, because you sent a mailer, you paid to mail that, and then you don't even know if people got it. I mean, it's the U.S. Postal Service here, right? So it's like I paid to mail this. I don't even know if somebody received it, let alone do I have the ability to follow up.
Right.
Because I don't have your information. And at the same time, around that same era, I don't remember the year, but the do not call list came up. And then that became a thing. Sure. Which was then you had to cross-reference phone numbers or D&D and, you know, make sure that you weren't calling people that asked to not be called. And then it got complicated.
Yikes, yeah. That doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
No,
but you were successful. You made it. I'm guessing.
I survived.
You did? You survived.
I mean, young advisors, it's just a brutal world to be in.
Yeah.
You know, as a young advisor, it takes a lot of fortitude to get through that.
Absolutely. But then, you know, COVID happened, and we talked a little bit about this on the first episode, but you really started to just both feet into the digital world of marketing.
Yep, which, you know, got me in trouble a little bit at the firm I was at. So I started to lean in too hard. And, you know, you start to get emails from compliance things. They're like, you can't be doing this. And it's like, no, actually you can.
Sure.
You know, you guys, your rules are above the rules. Like deeper, stronger than. You know, and it's interpretation of some of these rulings and stuff like that as well. And, just did it anyways. So, but that kind of led me to starting my own firm, you know, with some buddies and making something else happen, because I'm not really good at you telling me what to do when it's beyond like the law.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure. So I'm curious, so you've adopted a lot of new tools that have been successful for you. You know, obviously like you enjoyed it so much, or you thought it was really helping your business that you were willing to create a company so that you could keep doing those things. But what is not going to change? What are you not going to abandon in terms of the things you learned in sales and marketing in the early days?
That's a gigantic question. I mean, there's a lot that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
You know, I still meet people out.
Sure.
Like that.
So do you still use the 3-foot rule?
I don't use the 3-foot rule, but if something feels really organic, like sure, I'm going to talk to that person. You know, just because I'm an extrovert, so it's not very hard for me, or it isn't now. It was then, and then you trained that into yourself. So that wasn't really hard. I still use a notebook.
Do
you know? I still have a notebook,
like not Apple Notes, like real.
Yeah, like paper, like I write. Now, I don't write as much as I used to. So for anybody that doesn't write as much and you start, I'll get cramps. It's hilarious. I'm like, how's my hand cramping? I'm like, because you never write anymore, you know? So
that's crazy.
If I really get after it, it'll hurt. But marketing, direct mail still works, Dinner seminars still work. But then instead of just sending the mail as we used to, now it's you send the mail and on that is a QR code to your landing page or website. Or there's other calls to action. There's other ways to acquire their information where maybe they give you their first name, phone and email or something so that you can at least start to email them and text them if they don't show up to that event, or something.
And it's easier to measure things.
Yeah. So, but I would say, the things that went out the window is just doing everything by hand. Fax, scanning stuff, doing paperwork, having clients sign stuff. That went out the window. A lot of companies have gotten rid of those things, but not on the prospecting side. Nobody's doing CRM right. Sure. Nobody's doing email marketing and all that stuff right. That I've seen.
Well, when I was preparing for this episode, it was a lot. So I thought we would start with a kind of broad overview. I've identified 10 categories that I feel like I want to try to get into each one if we can. And then maybe if one or two of them stick out, we could do a deep dive in the future. And by embracing these, what I've seen is enhancing your digital presence saves you time, and it streamlines your operations. It helps you generate more leads, and just in general, stay ahead in a really competitive industry. So the goal is to have happier clients, which who doesn't want that, and just a more successful business overall. So the first category is digital presence, which would be your website, online reviews, and things like your reputation. So Google reviews, that kind of thing. How important would you say that is in your industry?
In what order? I don't know, but I would say that all of them together.
Sure.
I don't know if you can do one without all.
Sure, that category as a whole.
Yeah, the category.
Just a healthy digital presence of some kind on a scale from 1 to 10.
It's a 10.
It's a 10. Okay. A 10. All right. So I want to make sure to spend time there.
It's one of the things that's a 10. Who doesn't read reviews?
Yeah.
In America today, who doesn't end up looking at something in some manner and go, I don't even know if you can do it subconsciously, push out of this. If you see 300 reviews for a product and you see 20 views for a product at the same star rating, it's 4.8. How much more drawn are you to the one with the 300?
Yeah.
It's almost like it just happens. You can't even help it. And the fact that I see financial advisor firms with offices and it says been in business since 1994.
Right. Yeah.
I'll go with that year. Been in business since 94 and they have no reviews. It's so are you telling me you just don't have any clients? Because that's how.
Right.
That's not how young people think of that. This is the mistake that older people, old Gen X, baby boomers, the mistake that they're making is they're putting their paradigm, their thinking into everybody else's. So we're going, well, I don't pay attention to reviews. Okay. But that doesn't mean you're speaking for an entire generation here.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. My grandma is 84. Okay. She reads reviews, is on her phone all the time. She's on social media. She's on the internet. She watches video. She shares video with me.
Your grandma.
Yes. And she's
awesome.
84 going on 85.
Yeah.
So it's come on. Don't tell me that the 60-year-old is mentally inept and just can't can't do it. To me, that's just, what you're trying to do is be lazy. And you're trying to put
I don't
off
want
something
to learn this.
I don't want to learn this, and I don't really want to do it, so I'm going to make an excuse for my entire generation. And the only thing it's doing is hurting your office.
Sure.
Because people look you up, they look up the person down the street, and they just go, I'm going there.
Yeah.
Because they got some reviews at least, and they're pretty anemic probably, but they're better.
Sure.
Right? So I think that's probably what it is. Same thing goes for websites. Websites are always really bad. You look up your local financial advisor's website, it's just riddled with really technical jargon and all kinds of stuff that just doesn't take the average person, doesn't look at that and go, oh, they're speaking my language. They're talking to me.
Right.
So, yeah, your brand, the brand you're associated with, if it's not your brand, right, it needs to be really good. And the website and things like Google are really important.
Based on what I've seen so far, I feel like with the level of importance, the quality that I've seen, even in, hey, we have a website, maybe like a 2 out of 10. I don't know. Like, it's pretty low.
It's pretty bad. I think is it because financial advisors are nerds? And I say that nicely, like, I'm a financial advisor, okay? So is it because we're so technical that we think the numbers in the language of, we help with estate planning and blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
We think that's what gets people. And then we look past the fact that it just looks bad. So it's like the engineer who's really smart, but the engineers are infamous for dressing poorly, kind of thing, right? And driving cars that just get them from A to B because they don't care about aesthetic.
Sure.
And the reality is that most people do care about what the book cover looks like, not just the contents of it. So I think it is important that you look good, but you do most importantly have to be good. Like, you have to know what you're doing once they get to you. But the fact of the matter is the book, the cover of the book matters, like a lot, for people to want to crack open the book.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
okay, so we're definitely going to spend some time talking about that.
Okay.
Number 2, I have financial planning software, which even just saying that sounds really boring.
Sounds boring to me because I don't like doing that stuff. But
yeah. Tell me a little bit about that, how that's changed, how important you think it is.
I think it's morphed a lot over the last just even pretty short amount of years.
Yeah.
Most companies were using some, depending on if you're an independent or if you're in some other company's bigger ecosystem, they might have built a proprietary planning software for their brand, right? So there's some advisors that have kind of lived under that umbrella. They really don't know what other software. I had one of those.
Yeah, okay.
And I was like, oh, we've got planning software. And then I was like, then I've did some free trials of like other planning software. I'm like, we do not have planning software, And this is years ago. But then you're like, oh, cash flow analysis, and you're really you're really diving into the planning and not just goals based, but all the different elements that come into a planning process. And you realize pretty quick, if you're under a planning software that's pretty weak, you suddenly see the holes.
Yeah.
And there's a few of the bigger names out there that are the Fords, if you will, know, and I won't mention them because they don't sponsor this channel yet. But if they do, they'll get mentioned. But
that was slick.
But there's just, there's the big boys, and big, like, really great planning software matters. And I think it begins with not working with a company that does, like, proprietary programs are a problem. I think almost anywhere because they age out. So companies they build something, they spend all this money in the infrastructure, and then it ages.
By the time it's like really firing on all cylinders,
it's only even a few years old, it starts to age out. And then what happens is the board goes, hold on, we spent $2 million building that thing with all these servers. And
we're going to use it.
And we're going to use it, darn it.
Yeah.
And they're not giving up. So you're using something that's super antiquated, and then they just kind of like keep putting makeup on it to make it better. And when you're going with companies that only do it, they're software companies. Yeah. They are software companies, and they build a software called this planning, stuff and program. And
I like that name. This planning stuff program.
And they make it better.
Yeah.
And they have to keep up because it's a subscription model.
Yep.
And if they don't keep up, people just drop their shit and move on. So So you have to stay good and relevant. So I think that it's better to outsource stuff nowadays to outside software companies than try to build it internally because you just can't keep up.
Yeah, makes sense. Do you feel like the industry as a whole has really solid software, or that's something that's suffering?
It's pretty lame.
Okay.
For most companies.
Yeah.
The people who are winning best at the planning space are independents because they're independent. We
don't do software. We're great
do financial planning for clients out of our office.
So
they get a subscription to somewhere, and they're usually doing it best. But the big names are usually working with software that's a little older and that kind of thing, or really antiquated. And then you meet the advisors inside, which is funny, and they're like low key using outside planning software. They're paying for themselves which is against company policy in most companies because you're taking client data somewhere else.
Sure.
Which is really not secure to your agreements. So that's really dangerous. So now we won't even get into that. You're just being really uncompliant.
So the compliance department hates you.
They better not even know you're doing it. Most of those cases, those people get waxed if they find out they're doing that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah. So we'll rate the industry on a 3 on that one.
Yeah, doing really bad.
Next one I have is client relationship management or CRM systems.
Like a 1?
Yeah.
I mean, most companies, the firm I was at didn't even really have one for all intents and purposes. They called it that, but I don't think most companies have a CRM that's worth a damn. And even the software companies that do it, they're like, we've got the raddest, you're like, you go to their demo and stuff, and it's just kind of cute because they are souped up Rolodexes. Yeah,
that's kind of what I discovered. So I had this idea, coming from marketing, what a CRM is, and it not only like has client information, but it emails them. Oftentimes, like you can build websites in there. Like it does everything in terms of nurturing a lead or staying connected with your client. And I was working through a software with one of the advisors, and I'm like, yeah, but it has automated communication. And they're like, well, kind of. It will tell you when you should email them. It has like reminders. And I'm like, wait, what? You have to log in and send the email yourself? It's like that. It's like that scene out of Back to the Future when the kid's playing the video game and he's like, you have to use your hands? Like, that's a kid's game. Yeah, it's like, my mind was blown.
If you got to remember. Yeah. Or have to be reminded to go in to
do something that we have software that can automate it.
It told me it's time. Why can't it just do it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's not a CRM. Your CRM should, do an immense amount of workload for you, in my opinion.
Definitely.
And I'm sure we're going to be talking more about CRM. So
we'll get into that.
We'll get into it right now.
All right. Number 4 is client portals and mobile apps.
For clients to access like their info?
Yes.
How is the industry doing?
Yeah.
Industry is probably doing like 6 or 7 on that. They're doing better.
Okay.
Especially if you're with like one of the 2 or 3 big custodians in the managed space in particular. Broker dealer, it's a much lower number. Yeah. But in the RIA space, it's pretty good because a lot of the custodians got pretty wicked tech and people can use their Face ID on their app and get in and see their accounts.
That's good.
Yeah, they're doing much better there.
I can't imagine not being able to see like my portfolio or like
They kind of have to. What I'm noticing in the industry is the companies are a lot better at the stuff that's client forward. So if it's for the client, because of regulations and so on and so forth, they spend the money on it. If it's for the advisor to acquire more clients, which is what every company is asking advisors to do all day, they're just doing a shit job on that stuff.
They're like, get out your Rolodex. You'll be fine.
Figure it out. Like, here's your, go manually just text 100 people today.
You know how to knock on doors.
Yeah, right. So if it's advisor focused, it's pretty bad. If it's client focused, most of the companies are doing better than not.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. 5 is lead gen and digital marketing.
0.
I
mean, I don't know. The industry in that regard is almost doing nothing almost at all.
Okay. We'll need to talk about that then. Social media.
Some of the big brands are doing an okay job of branding themselves.
Yeah.
But then who are the advisors? Nobody knows. For the advisors,
nobody knows.
It's a 1.
Yeah.
For the companies, it's like a 7. They own a basketball stadium and they've got commercials and, maybe it's a 9 or a 10. Some of the brands are doing really good at promoting themselves, but they're doing an awful job of promoting those who actually represent them.
Which is really interesting because, I mean, I know that from being in marketing, like you don't want to connect with the company. Like, unless it's like Nike or something, which just kind of has this cool by association.
But even then, they take
individual athletes.
They take individual athletes. They put Michael Jordan on.
Caitlin Clark.
We're not going to talk about any of the people that nobody
Yeah.
We don't like.
Yeah.
But we're near Chicago. We're going to talk about Jordan. Yes, you put Jordan on.
Yeah.
I want to be like Mike.
Yeah.
Tagline, right? You see what I'm saying? And then you buy Jordans which are Nikes, right?
Yeah.
I didn't buy a pair of Nikes. I bought my Jordan 4s or whatever. My parents bought my Jordan 3s or 4s when I was in like 1994.
Yeah.
Because I was obsessed with Michael Jordan.
Sure.
Not Nike.
Yeah.
So they're still doing that. They're doing it correctly in that space. But the companies they're growing their brand name recognition. And that's the only thing they're growing.
Which is a real shame.
Yeah. Because they have such an opportunity to do it like really well because they have gigantic buckets of money to do it right.
That must be nice.
Yeah, and they're still doing it wrong. So just goes to show that money can't buy brains.
Yeah. Okay. Compliance and security tools. This is your favorite.
How are financial companies doing at compliance for their advisors?
Yeah.
1.
It's not a 0.
I mean, it is so bad. You send in something to request and you just get a no with a do not reply email address. And you're like,
gives you the warm fuzzies.
Like, I don't even know what was wrong. If I could get some insight to like why it's not compliant, then maybe I could.
Don't do this. Don't think about doing this.
Yeah, maybe I could rewrite it. Something.
The email said Merry Christmas. I don't know.
What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really bad. I think most compliance departments are ran by so many attorneys now that have never sold anything, never had a client, never had to do. God bless their corporate attorneys. Okay. And these money sucks have never done anything as it relates to actually doing what's in the best interest of a client. But yet they're the ones that tell an advisor what they can and cannot say. And like that to me is where advisors need to push back.
Sure.
Companies have to push back because it's like, I'm trying to do what's in the best interest of my client. There's some ambiguity, but there's mainly pretty clear language around some of the things you can and cannot do as it relates to SEC FINRA.
Yeah.
And I just get an email that says no. And you're like, no, why? Like I'm trying to help my clients here.
Yeah. And I'm trying to follow the rules.
So could you help me out? So that's why it's a 1.
Okay.
Because I think if you want to help somebody get better as a coach, you got to show them what they did wrong, but then you got to show them how to do it right.
No doubt. How about automation tools? So, email marketing, social automation, workflow automation.
0. That's not even on the radar.
I was really expecting, at least one of these to shine, but I don't know if we're all 0s.
These companies are doing. I had to start my own firm because I thought nobody was doing it right.
Okay.
Even the big ones that I went to, and I was like, with partners, were like, hey, let's check out these guys. They're like, wow, you guys suck at that too. Well, you've got a big name. Great for you. Everything else you're doing is pretty lame.
Virtual meeting and collaboration tools. This one might be pretty good.
That one's pretty good. I think some companies are doing really well at that.
Yeah.
Post 2020.
Sure. It was like everyone was forced, like churches, and it's all okay.
Yeah, they figured it out really fast because if they didn't, they weren't going to have companies.
Sure.
Like really quick. So, but the whole country did, right? So, 65-year-old grandparents figured out Zoom and FaceTime. Otherwise, they weren't going to see their grandkids again.
Sure. That's a motivator.
In a lot of states all across the country, grandparents had a decision to make. Right? Grandpa's like, I don't do that on those things on that phone. Right? Yeah. And then grandma's like, we're never going to see our grandchildren if you don't buy us a laptop. So they bought a laptop and they got on Zoom and then they could see their grandparents and the grandkids and they figured it out. I think sometimes, good comes from all bad things, right? There's always the Murphy's Law, if you will, the upside or the opposite reaction. And I think part of the swing that was really positive to COVID was it got a lot of people who were pushing back on tech to have to accept it.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole bunch of other things, but I think that was a positive thing. I think it helped a lot of clients to go to digital reviews is fine. Like, we'll come in once a year, but, this little quarterly or this little checkup, sure, let's just pop online.
Yeah.
Save everybody some time, effort, and energy. So.
Yeah, good. And the last one is AI, which I kind of have a feeling how we're doing on this one.
I don't even know. AI came out after I had already started my firm, so I'm not even certain how.
You don't have a good pulse on that?
Yeah, I just don't really have a pulse on how much other companies are. I bet they're copywriters for their branding that I said was a 9 or a 10. They're using it.
Yeah.
But how much that's being used outside of that is probably pretty minimal.
Well, the score is not great, if I'm being honest.
We got some kind of golf score situation going on here.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're more Joe Biden category than Donald Trump is
These
the golf
numbers
score.
They're so low that we've got to change it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll just start at the top. I read this statistic. I thought this was really interesting. A survey found that 80% of consumers read online reviews for local businesses, and 79% trust those reviews as much as a personal recommendation. So
79%.
79%. So that was a Bright Local survey. So I say we start the conversation deep dive around digital presence, because that was just...
That's mega.
Yeah.
That's saying that 8 out of 10 people, a review is as good as a friend's actual recommendation nowadays.
Yeah.
That's huge. I think that's actually really, really positive, because
Sure.
you can only get somebody to recommend you so much.
Yeah.
You know, it's the old saying that if somebody eats a bad restaurant, I think they tell 6 or 7 people, but if it was great, they only tell 2 or 3.
Yeah.
People tell like 3 times, 3x more of bad than they do of good. So it's amazing how you'll have like this happy client and they just talk about how much they love you, and you've gotten like one referral from them in the history of ever. Yeah. You know, and you're like, this is weird. You just love me so much. You know?
But you don't want anyone else to know. It's like your secret with yourself, like, how great I am.
I'm not like your tailor. You're trying to keep secrets, so I'll get too busy.
Yeah.
But so that's big then, because if you're doing a great job as an advisor of getting reviews and whatnot, then your referral count will go up, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's great.
So something simple to help with this that an advisor could do would be to set up their Google My Business.
Yep.
Or Apple Maps.
Both, preferably. Right?
Yeah. Which sounds like a small thing, and it kind of is. But I think keeping that statistic in mind is really important, because it can be a little quirky or frustrating. Like you have to upload some business documents and it doesn't always get approved. So basically Google wants to make sure you're a real person, because these reviews are valuable, as we can see. So any advisors listening, if you haven't done it, it will either take you 5 minutes or maybe 3 hours, depending on.
So let me help Annette out here. A company has to be approving of them.
Sure.
So you're still going to have to run through compliance.
Oh, really?
That can I even have a Google My Business?
That's interesting. So that's part of the reason I wanted to kind of pick your brain on all of these categories based on like how the industry is doing, because my only experience has been TerraWealth.
Yeah. So there's firms that don't even allow it. I had one previous firm before it was allowed, and then they did allow it later, but your company may or may not even like allow you to have a Google My Business. So you got to be careful, because you could go start that up and it could be against, internal procedures and guidelines.
Okay.
So just leave that firm. Because
that
just said that pretty much everybody pays attention to reviews, and that's where it all comes from nowadays. And you're not allowed to do it. You probably should just leave firms. I'm serious. Like, there's just certain things that companies can't get on board.
What is the fear with that? Like, I just don't understand. Like, it's not a space you host or have control over. It's ran by a third party that obviously the public trusts greatly.
You can't even pick who leaves reviews for you. Somebody could go on Google My Business, and this is some of the fear. Somebody could go on Google My Business and leave a review of my office and not actually have been a client of my office.
Sure.
It can be spam. People can just go on. I can say ate at a place and never ate there. Leave a bad review.
Sure.
But I mean, there's less psychopaths who do that than people that like, shoot strangers. I mean, I don't know anybody who's ever left like they're just online like, hey, let me leave bad reviews for fun. I guess it's possible, but companies are so worried about bad reviews. The reality is you not existing is way worse than even if you had bad reviews.
Sure.
You don't even exist.
Or, I mean, everyone reads reviews, as we've identified. I mean, let's say I'm looking for a restaurant to go out to eat. They have lots of great reviews. Then there's one that's just weird and negative. Like, in a kind of, you can just tell it's just somebody who was looking to get rid of some of their negative energy.
Always, you look at it and you go, that's Karen.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and you know where that term comes from, right? You just kind of know, oh, it's that guy.
Yeah.
If 1 out of 10 reviews is really bad and the other 9 are great, almost everybody disregards that review.
Sure. Yeah.
Because everybody knows, well, that's just a crazy guy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So and the reward far outweighs any risk, we think.
Question. Yeah.
Yeah. To me. Another statistic for you. So this is about the idea that only the young folks use the interwebs. According to a Broadridge Financial Solutions survey, 84% of investors age 55 and older expect a high level of digital engagement from their financial advisor.
What percent?
84% of investors age 55 and over.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that was pretty recent.
These are old Gen X to young boomers or through boomers.
Yeah.
So it's older Gen X up.
Yeah.
Which is the group who's like, my client, you know, these people aren't on the internet.
Yeah.
84% say they expect you to be on the internet.
Yeah. So besides getting a review, which would be great, if you don't have the resources or the time right now to build a website, Google reviews. But a website, some type of digital presence, I feel like is essential.
It's really, you just can't get around it. I don't, it's just that simple. You can't not do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to pour a drink.
Oh.
Are you want a drink today or not?
I'll take one, yeah. As long as it's that blue coat.
By the way, it's Annette's birthday, and she's doing an episode with me. So
I'm dedicated.
You can tell how dedicated she is. That ice melted down, so you might want to take the...
I got to
sip the water out.
Right.
All right, I guess we're going to sip on gin on ice. Don't judge us. We didn't bring anything. Actually, I got some sparkling water.
It's almost evening.
If you want to blend it down at all, you got some sparkling water with.
Blue coat's just good.
Yeah, well, it's citrusy, so it's not dry.
Doesn't attack you.
Oh. All right, all good. Well,
cheers. Thank you.
There we go. Now we can really get into the conversation. We got Zin and Gin. We're good to go.
Zin and Gin. Tucker says Zin is not a sin.
Zin ain't a sin. That's right. So this is the stuff that every advisor has. I mean, we've got a real struggle.
Yeah.
Okay, let me restart this. We have a problem in our industry. The average financial advisor is like 59 or 60. Whatever. Different reviews are slightly different. Approaching retirement. Let's call it that. They don't have succession plans. They don't know what they're going to do with their own clients and book. Statistically, as you talk to them, they have no clue. They're not on the internet. They don't have a junior to sell their book to. They're
invisible and dying.
They're invisible and literally aging out. And then they're going, I don't need any help. Yeah,
sure.
You need a lot of help. You're a mess. You need somebody to work in your office as a junior for the next 2 to 3 years so that you can retire. Somebody can buy your book instead of it just rolling up to your company. Okay? You need somebody who...
You don't want to just give your life's work away?
Yeah, you don't want to just hand off your life's work. What? You need somebody who's... Your clients want somebody who they know they're 65 and they just retired. They know that you're 60. They haven't asked you the question, but they're thinking, I'm retiring. When are you retiring? That's a problem for me.
Oh, interesting.
And what you're not doing is preparatorily going, and oh, by the way, here's my 40-year-old junior who's working with me, right?
Getting to know the clients.
Getting to know all the clients, taking a 2-year time or whatever to roll you through. And maybe you're not rolling out that fast. It doesn't even matter. Somebody in the office that they're also getting to know is capable and good with the people and all that, who then will be the successor to take over so that the clients don't go, well, I'm just going to be up for grabs and got to figure out what to do when I'm 75? Or what if you just suddenly have a heart attack and just something happens to you and I'm just trying to figure out what to do and I'm confused and you're the person that always had my best interest at heart. Advisors just can't stick their heads in the sand anymore. They've got to start to make some hard decisions on this stuff and move forward.
And it's interesting, as you were talking about leaving a book of business or passing off or selling a book of business to a junior, my marketing brain went, you could be building digital assets that also brings value to your business. Because if you have a website that has a domain score of like 70 and, it's generating leads without you doing anything because you've set it up properly, when that goes with your book of business, like it's a real asset.
Yeah.
And advisors know, if anybody knows assets, it's an advisor, but I don't think they always identify the value in taking the time to build something like that correctly.
Yeah, they just don't understand the value of it.
Yeah.
It's the main thing. If you said, hey, would you trade $1 million client for a website that created
$10 million clients?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They'd be like, yeah, but does it really? That kind of thing. Because they just don't understand. They're skeptic to it because they've never seen it work in practical reality. Not really their fault, honestly. Because if you're in an industry like ours and you've got your head they've got their head in the sand that deep, then you've got to expect that the advisors' heads are in the sand too.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not really their fault to a degree, because how are you supposed to do what your company says you're not allowed to do?
Sure, that makes sense.
Or how would you learn more about something that you're being told to not bother to figure out?
And if you're kind of a rule follower, it's like if someone in that trusted position has been saying no for this long, it must be bad.
It must be bad. I'm just
not
that kid.
Yeah, I've noticed.
That's right. Yeah, the authorities saying this is bad. I'm like, yeah, we're going to see if that's true.
Yeah, probably going to want to do that.
Yeah, I'm probably going to want to do that. We'll find out.
Yeah.
And there's a big, back to, I think it's just important to note, there's a difference between, like, what is actually, let's for instance say, the law around something, and there's maybe what somebody's just saying. I just want to push up against that is all.
Something I keep asking too, like, okay, these are the rules, but what is the goal? What are we trying to do here? And like, obviously I'm not a compliance person, but just the way that I think, it's like, does that rule support the goal? Right. Which, if the goal is serving clients with excellence and keeping them safe, is this achieving that?
No, but regulation doesn't do that a lot of times.
Right?
Regulation has the opposite effect a lot of times on, without getting political, on what the intended, there's intended consequences and unintended consequences. One of the unintended consequences of best interest ruling was that it just screwed the middle class.
Sure.
Who are the people trying to get started. Because if you don't have enough money to go work with a fiduciary to get started, you're just kind of like up crap creek with like no paddle. And it just puts smaller account type families in a really bad position, because it forced the companies and the advisors to, it's just not profitable. Can't do it.
Yeah.
So it's not only not profitable, but some companies literally don't allow it. So.
Well, for anyone who's on the fence with reviews or a website or just getting a basic like digital presence, another statistic for you to kind of push you over the edge, hopefully, is cost. So inbound marketing versus outbound marketing. Inbound marketing costs 62% less per lead than traditional outbound marketing. So the new approach would be to create something attractive so that clients come to you, and it's much cheaper.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, create an ad or a landing page or something like that somebody comes to, versus, we do mailers for dinners. Oh my gosh, you spend thousands in mail and postage in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Thousands of dollars.
I think it's important to keep that stuff in mind when, maybe you're pivoting as an office or as an independent advisor, being like, this is hard, or, okay, I know I'm not going to do it myself. I don't have time, so I'm going to pay someone. It's like there is a return on that investment, assuming it's done properly. and it's worth it.
By the way, this is the first podcast, episode 3, in front of the new studio background. Yeah. This will be my background when I'm on digitally, because a lot of people that I'm going to be interviewing won't be in person. So I just want to read my quote because it's prompting me right now.
You've got a couple.
This quote at the top is one of my favorite quotes. I
probably can't see it all.
I've had this in my life forever. You can't see it right now. I think it's blocked out because for the person it's from Bruce Lee, though. He said, because you might as well be dead. And this was about, he was running with one of his proteges.
Yeah.
And they normally did I think it was a 3-mile run every morning. They ran 3 miles and 2 or 3 miles. And he said, hey, we're going to keep running to 5 miles.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 2 or 3 more miles. And Bruce Lee was known for, I think he sprinted. I mean, we're talking about running. It's not a light jog. Okay. And his protege said, I can't do that. I'll die. And he said to him, because you might as well be dead. He goes, you better run it because you might as well be dead.
Dude.
He said, because seriously, if you always put limits on what you can do physically or anything else, it'll spread over into the rest of your life. It'll spread into your work, into your morality, into your entire being. There are no limits. There are plateaus, but you must not stay there. You must go beyond them. If it kills you, it kills you. A man must constantly exceed his level, which of course pertains to women as well. Right. It's an old quote. Yeah. But it's just, to me, that's just so mega. And some of this conversation is making me think about that because it was spurred by the moment of somebody feeling pushed.
Sure. Which
it was like
the industry needs pushed.
The industry needs pushed. And financial advisors need pushed. And if you don't want to be pushed, well, you might as well be dead. You might as well, because if you're not growing, you're dying in business. If you're not growing, you're dying, and you're on your way out.
Yeah.
And if you're not growing at a rate, look, there's a big difference between light organic growth and growth.
Sure.
You're just kind of piddling along, and some clients give you some new clients, and you'll be able to probably do that for a while still.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows what's going to happen with the market of financial advising, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen to you? Do you build a business anybody gives a damn about? Anybody wants to buy? Is it good enough? Is it replicatable? Is it a real system? Does anybody want it?
Is it all dependent on you and what's in your brain? Yeah.
Your brain, and it's gone, and nobody wants to buy it because it's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was all laid out and it was all professionally done, and all the clients are in this, are in this CRM.
A real CRM.
A real CRM, and they're all communicated with and feeling loved and this and that. Now it's something somebody wants to be a part of.
Sure.
In your exit, right?
So interesting to me because the industry isn't easy. And when I meet a financial advisor, I'm like, you had to go through some things to get where you are, to be at the level of success you are. But I have sensed just a resistance or hesitation around the things that we're talking about today. And I'm just like, you guys are tough. Why? I don't know if it's, you kind of push hard in your younger years and you kind of get established and then you just kind of want to coast a little bit, or, it's easier to learn new things when you're in your early days of your career.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not like we're kids.
Yeah.
Right? You and I, people are like, you're young. I'm like, I'm 39,
Yeah.
And I've been doing this 18 years,
Yeah.
So when you're in your 20s, I would say maybe that's more accurate. But I don't know. If my grandpa didn't learn how to, get on a computer, nowadays, what are you going to do? Check your balance, your checkbook still? I don't even know if they even do that. Can you still get a check ledger?
You can. I don't know if anyone uses them.
Well, because debit cards, you can't keep up.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things you had to adapt to.
Mm-hmm.
Every grandma, is keeping check of the ledger.
Yeah.
Pretty much has learned how to log into their bank online.
That's right.
By now.
Yeah.
They fought it. They fought it in 2012 and 13 and 17. But there was a point where pretty much everybody folded.
And I think it has to be coming for this industry. And if, you're adopting these things now when it's finally like fully converted, everyone else is going to be scrambling to figure it out, and you'll be like, got it.
Yeah, the people who are out in front just going to kill everybody. That's the other part. The competition is just going to get destroyed. I mean, it's happening right now. There's companies all over just absolutely crushing the competition because they're doing some of these things correctly, and just due to that, they're growing in leaps and bounds compared to others.
Yeah, even if you establish you're assuming your company allows, establish some Google reviews. You've had clients who have been with you for X amount of years. It's a long time. It's an easy ask. Hey, here's the QR code to scan to my review or whatever. Make it as easy as possible. You get 5 of those, and the guy next door has been there 10 years longer than you, but he has no digital credibility. Like, I know who I'm calling.
Yeah, even if it's only 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that pretty much wraps up, for the purposes of this conversation, having a digital presence. The next thing that really stood out to me is social media. So another statistic for you. It's one thing to sense these things from my experience, but it's another thing to actually see them in facts. So a Pew Research study found that 72% of U.S. adults use at least one social media site, with an average of 2 hours and 24 minutes per day. So you can create a social media account for free and reach leads.
A couple 100 million people.
Warm connections with your clients. And I don't know. Is that not allowed either?
Depends.
Yeah.
It depends. Yeah, it depends, and particularly what you can say. A lot of companies still have a pretty strict policy on, like, you shouldn't even friend your clients, which I think is just absolutely asinine.
It's like saying, in this age, if you see a client, you're downtown having dinner with your wife or whatever, you see a client, don't say hi to them, Josh.
That's what it is saying without saying it.
Yeah.
They don't think that's what it is.
Right.
But no, it is that absurd. Because a lot of my clients, there's a famous book written called Supernova, and in it they were talking about, I think they talk about 12 contacts a year. Advisors who are the most successful at 12 contacts a year with their clients.
12 like touches, calls?
Yeah, touches of calls, some, emails, things like that. 12, that's it. Okay. Well, what does social media do? If your social media is clean, right? Like if you're posting pictures of like your family and, you're on vacation and that kind of thing, clients love that stuff. My clients are like, oh, I saw the kids are getting us so big. And, and advisors get so like in their head about stuff. Like if my clients see that I go on a nice vacation, they might think that I'm making too much money and It's like, dude, you got to let all that go. You got to get all that out of your head. Mm-hmm. Okay. You are like way overthinking that.
Or like post pictures of yourself at Goodwill with your kids buying new shoes, or something. It's like,
how is that? They're going back. So is my advisor on the brink? Like, are they losing?
He's not doing well.
Yeah, not doing. I think you're better leaning towards it's okay if they see you looking like you do a little too well than not.
Yeah, sure.
Right, but and we're not even talking about I'm not talking about like flossing online, like how stupid that would be. People do that stuff, but I'm just saying your life, like truly, you're at the family reunion, you take pictures with your family and kids and your aunts and uncles and all that. Like, clients love to see that stuff because you're a human.
Right.
In human relationships, just like them. Mm-hmm. And they see you smiling and laughing with other people that you clearly care for and care for you. And now you're a real person, not just this person behind a desk who reads off plus and minuses, and tells them.
There's connecting points.
Yes. It's like, that's why it's important.
Oh, he loves hunting dogs, or he drinks the same drink I drink, or whatever.
Yeah. And occasionally you lose a client. It's never happened to me, but hypothetically speaking, you lost a client because they saw you like had a beer or something, and they're like super fundamentalist, and they're like, and they're like, we don't drink alcohol. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say, but you connected so much more deeply with the other 50 who then send you leads.
Yeah. Those 50 clients have the ability now to be like, hey, this is my buddy Josh. Like, this is his Facebook. DM him. Like, you should have a conversation with him.
Right.
And what's super interesting, and I think people often miss, we haven't said anything about finance.
Nothing.
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm a human.
This is tough stuff, and that.
Yeah.
This is the part where advisors, like I said, overthink it. It's the human connection is what matters, and that's what people are missing. You don't, and this is why it doesn't matter with compliance, because it shouldn't matter, because I'm just friending a client so that we can have a more deep relationship. I can see their family. The more I know the client, the better I can do for them.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Because it's not just those couple of questions I ask everyone.
Hey, I saw you planning a graduation party. We haven't talked about your whatever lately. Like,
correct.
Would you like to? Are you good?
It's going to make me a better advisor.
Yeah.
Being in their lives more deeply.
Mm-hmm. If you had to guess, out of the financial advisors that do have a social media presence, what is the percentage who have gains a lead or some type of like connection to sale?
I mean, if they've been doing it for any length of time, it's probably 100%.
Well, not 100%, but 92%.
92. I was
based on
I don't know any
actual
advisors
data
who haven't done that.
And that's
say,
people with all different levels of, like, I don't know. They could post once. Yeah.
No way.
92%.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, if they're doing it right, so that would be the 8% or something.
If you had a 92% chance of gaining new clients by creating a free social media account and occasionally posting on it, would you do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on, not that hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think people in any industry really overthink social media. I think it's about being authentic, and that helps build trust over time. Like you said, you're just a normal guy with a family. And if you can, I think an additional item would be to create some kind of value. So some people are really funny naturally. If you're not funny, don't try this. But
comes off really wrong.
That does really well on social media. Also, some type of education. Like, I can't tell you how much I've learned just from being around you and Lauren. You know, it's like, oh, I wish I'd known that 20 years ago. You know, you drop simple, like, financial knowledge. Like you don't have to be selling a product, but just about preparing for retirement or whatever. Yeah. It offers extreme value to people. And if it's someone you know and trust already, and, you know, maybe you've been friends with them for a long time, but it's not come up in conversation. They've been following you on social, and you share something, and that can impact their life in a crazy way.
Yeah.
So whether it's simple, you know, family photos, or, you know, you're out skiing with the guys or whatever it is you do, just post something.
Yeah. I mean, going beyond that is where you go to level 200.
Yeah.
A level 100 class is just
set up a profile.
Set up a profile and just post some stuff, and then friend your clients.
Yeah.
So that they see you're a real person.
Yeah, it's good. Let's see, where to go next? There's so much. We've only done 2 categories.
Yeah. We got to move. I talk too much. Good thing
I wasn't going to say it.
So I got somewhere to talk more.
Yeah, good grief. We could talk CRMs. I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, let's get into CRMs because I'm really passionate about that.
All right. Why are you so passionate about that?
Because I was a 20-year-old using a box with 3x5 note cards in it.
So you're scarred. I'm have some
scarred. Yeah, I'm just beat up by it. I think it's because I tried so much.
Yeah.
I really did. I mean, I tried all the big names in the financial space.
Are we going to say those? No. Okay.
They
figure it out.
You know who they are.
You know.
You know who they are.
Okay.
You get their emails. Sign up for a free trial. You know, that kind of thing. So I tried all that kind of stuff, and then the same problem kept popping up, which was, why am I still doing this work?
Mm.
Like, this doesn't make sense. This is a glorified Rolodex. I'm putting all my clients in here, but then I've got to make a workflow that tells me that it's their birthday. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I started to see some of the prospecting CRMs, if you will, that didn't really, more like, let's call it the e-commerce world.
Okay.
So like e-com, so I had some friends, cousin in the e-commerce world, and they're using CRMs and or stitching together multi-softwares that would do bulk text message, bulk email, click funnels. So they got funnel landing pages and then website pages, and making all those talk to each other so that when somebody clicked a landing page, watched the video that they liked, gave you their info, they got a text back like, hey, thanks for reaching out to us. Here's another video to watch. And then boom, an email hits if that's their better route to do things, which, in the video, then you could get the teaser with give us your information for a longer video. And I'm watching all this go on in the e-commerce world.
Sure.
And financial advisors are sitting here going, I got a notepad, So what's your friend's name? John?
Okay. Yeah, John.
What's he do? Okay. And I'm like writing down referrals, and then I'm calling this guy. Okay, first I got to check the do not call list. Then I've got to call this guy who doesn't know me. Okay. Knows nothing about me.
Probably not going to go real well.
I mean, it's like when I stop knocking on doors. I'm like, I'm going to get shot one of these days. Okay, this isn't the 80s anymore. I'm like,
not 1994.
I'm like in the 90s. I'm like this skinny white kid at the time, like walking up onto people's porches with a tie on. I mean, I'm expecting people are thinking they're waiting for me to ask if they know Jesus Christ, and I'm just going, like, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
This is asinine. What are we doing? So yes, the CRM is important because you have to, but the financial services CRMs don't work.
Sure.
They're broken. Because the e-commerce world is what works, which is automations, sending people stuff on their birthdays. They click a link, they see your calendar, they schedule a time, they get automatic text messages and emails like they do their dentist. And every other relationship, professional relationship in their life gets that pretty much, but their financial advisor.
I will say when all of that stuff originally started, it kind of freaked me out. Like, I was like, okay, that was automated and kind of weird. But now if I don't get it, like if I schedule an appointment somewhere and I don't get a text saying confirmed, like you'll be meeting with John at whatever, I'm like, did it work? Am I scheduled? I don't know.
Because we become groomed to the technology. Right?
Yeah.
Like we get used to it. And good, bad, indifferent, I don't care. That's not what,
it's just where we're at.
It's just where we are.
Yeah.
Just accept things. For the love of God, stop pushing back. Like people just want to, everybody wants everything to just stay put. Nothing stays put. Okay? Go read Who Moved My Cheese. Okay?
I haven't heard of that one.
That's an oldie.
Okay.
But it's just, you got to keep moving. So the like where I was at before, my buddy, a good friend of mine who now works at our firm, he said he had these emails, templates, PDFs, and then he would schedule the next meeting with somebody, and he has his process. Okay. So essentially, he did this first meeting, and now he's going to do the next meeting. And he's going to ask them to bring, let's say, all their statements and things like that to begin the planning process. So he would then text them and say, hey, I'm emailing you. Text, like get out his phone, go to their phone number, text, hey, I'm emailing you, type up a whole text message, press send, which doesn't sound ridiculous, but this isn't step one.
Yeah.
Or this is step one. And you got to do this with everybody.
Yeah.
So he texts the guy. Then he says, I go to my email, and then I form an email for the guy. I put the PDF in, attach that, and then I got a little script that I got to go to a note.
Copy
that into the email. I dropped it in, proofread, made sure I got all the attachments, and okay, good. Press send. Then he's like the day before the appointment or the day of the morning of the appointment, I got to remember to text the guy to be like, hey, John, don't forget, going to see you today at noon at my office. And I'm like, you're doing this all day, every day?
For everyone.
For everybody. I'm like, how many appointments a week do you do? I don't know, 8 to 10. Okay. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, what if you could, I remember I told him, I said, what if all of it was just done? You're sitting with him for that first appointment, or he booked the first appointment online. Let's just say you're sitting there for that appointment. Say, hey, the next appointment, we're going to get together, get your planning process going. How's Thursday at 5? Yep. His phone dings. Confirmation.
Also in the email.
And then 24 hours before, and then in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it sends him the PDF with what to bring and all. I said, you don't got to do anything but what? Find more clients, more prospects, and work on planning and processing and doing a better job for your current clients. Like we gotta figure out how to stop with all this madness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like and it's only because the world got harder. More came in.
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody says, well, I got staff for that. What else could your staff be doing?
Mm-hmm.
You know, same thing. Just having staff isn't an excuse for it not to be optimized.
Sure. If you have staff, even more reason.
Yeah, because you're paying somebody.
Yeah.
You're wasting money. Right?
Yeah.
Or you could at least have that gal or guy doing something else more productive, as in...
Yeah, or setting that up for you, and then you don't need quite a large staff, or your care for your clients and leads is just more effective.
Anything that's repetitive should be optimized. Or better said, anything that's repetitive should be automated.
Mm-hmm.
If it's repetitive, it should be automated.
So I'll back you up. Financial advisors using CRM systems report a 41% increase in productivity and a 37% improvement in client satisfaction.
They're using the shitty CRMs.
Yeah.
They're not using good CRMs.
Mm-hmm.
Because the really good ones aren't in our space.
Sure.
And they're not approved by the companies and all that kind of stuff. This is why you and I had to build, why we had to build our own. But
our CRM took me a little while to learn.
Yeah, because I had it for like a year before you came in and started optimizing.
But it does everything.
Everything. I want my website, my landing page, all my forms.
Client notes, appointments, client phone numbers,
tasks,
texting.
Reminders, texting.
Compliant archiving, which is...
I want text archiving.
Yeah.
I want it all there.
Yeah. Hey, you never said that to me, Mr. or Mrs. Client. I think I did.
Oh, wait, that's archived.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every appointment we ever did, it's all in one spot. I don't got to go through my Google Calendar to go try to find our last visit. I just hit this calendar, and it just shows my last 4 visits with you in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want that.
You want A, which it's basically a piece of paper but in a computer, or you want B. What does it do? Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't sell our CRM to the outside world, but there's a reason that we had to build it because it didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
It really didn't exist.
I'm sure someone out there has figured out some version, but I haven't met them yet.
Yeah. I mean, they're maybe not on a podcast talking about it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right. Nothing that was fairly easy to find online, because I would have preferred to have bought it rather than built it.
Sure.
I can tell you that much.
Yeah, because it was a little bit of a lift.
Yeah, and it's not over because you're always building it because you're always optimizing.
But then, everyone benefits from it. So
For sure.
All right. Are we good there? You got anything else on the CRM?
I just think if your company doesn't have one, you need to find out if you can get, if you can go start to build some of those systems. And if you're like, I really don't know how to do that stuff, then you're kind of out of luck because it is a heavy lift. It's not an easy answer, unfortunately, for advisors.
Yeah.
Like, even if your company would allow you to use another outside CRM, it is tough to build because most time you land into something and it's just framework, and all those automations take a lot to put together.
A lot of testing.
A lot of testing, and a lot of just know-how to make it work.
Yeah. And I feel like it's a little bit like the Google thing or the website thing. Like, once you understand how it works and have it all optimized, it's fabulous. But it's not to say there's no work.
Yeah, but like for our financial advisors, they're not building it.
Sure.
Like we build it.
But just even getting used to using it.
Oh, for sure. That's hard enough as it is for most people.
Yeah.
Just getting to know the new tech.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
But then once you do, it's like, imagine going backwards.
Yeah, I remember when I was learning, I think it was life insurance originally, this mentor told me. He said, it only takes like 15 to 30 days to learn anything in this business.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, so you need to go dig into the life insurance industry, read these books. It was kind of like one of those things. Read these books, watch these training tapes. Here's how you do life insurance, right? And, so it's the old smooth, slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Mm-hmm.
You got to slow down.
Sure.
Because you're like, I'm just go, but you're just not getting anywhere. A dog chasing its tail is activity, but it's not going anywhere.
Sure.
It's just spinning around. So you do have to slow down to be like, okay, let me learn how our new software at Salesforce works.
Right.
Our new software at Orion works.
Oh, that's good.
Wherever you're at. I don't know, whatever. I'm using names here. But I shouldn't have done that. Hey. So I have no qualms. We're at episode 3. I'm already talking about sponsorships for the show. But I think people don't. It's hard for advisors because we are just go. A lot of our personalities are type A's. A lot of
and then you're go, and someone tells you this is going to make things quicker, faster, better, and you go to set up your Google thing, and it goes. You're like, what?
It feels like a stop sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to slow down long enough to learn it. And then after that, you go so much faster than you used to and so much faster than everybody else.
Yes.
But you do have to take the 2 weeks to take 3 hours twice a week, 6 hours a week, or whatever it is to really dig in and learn it. And then once it's learned, you make up that time times 3.
Mm-hmm. And this industry got a huge pass because everybody else is already there.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're not selling anything online or marketing online without these things.
Walmart got crushed by Amazon.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Walmart's doing better now because what did they do? They replicated Amazon. They've got
every once in a while, I'm searching for something, and Walmart will also come up, and I'm like, oh, Walmart. Like, I remember them.
Those guys.
Yeah,
because you don't want to go to Walmart because you get shot or stabbed. But let's be honest. At least the ones by where I live, it always kind of feels that way. So you
it got dark.
This is the reality of how the show's probably going to be with me hosting.
I'm not mad about it. At least it's not boring.
Well, one of my favorite TV characters of all time is the great Jeremy Clarkson, who's actually, I love him so much. He was from a show Top Gear, originally on the BBC car show. Like, here's one of his quotes. This shows you how big of a smart ass he is. This is my personality and why I love him so much. Speed has never killed anyone. Suddenly becoming stationary. That's what gets you. So, it's like, it's not about the speed. So that's a type A personality right there. So they even had to replicate it. They've got some membership program now that you can buy into. It's a certain amount per year, free shipping, the whole deal. You get because they had to stay relevant. Mm-hmm. But it didn't matter because
it was too late.
There's a big difference between catching up and keeping up. And they had to catch up. And it was just too late. You don't see Walmart boxes on every porch. You don't see Walmart trucks buzzing around every day, everywhere. Right. You see Amazon trucks. Mm-hmm. And it's because they're out in front.
Strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, so I think, like for me, I was 37 when I left the firm I was at and decided to start my own. Mm-hmm. And because I was like, man, I'm getting old. Like, in the grand scheme of things, no.
Sure. But
in career, when you've done something, 16 years at that time, it's a long time, and I'm going, I've got this figured out. I feel like I'm at Walmart right now. And
you were, at the top of the Walmart game though.
Yeah, but but you're still at Walmart.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? It's just the difference. Mm-hmm. Of being forward thinking and just being on your toes, being on your heels. It's so small.
So here's an interesting question. It just made me think of this. So think of the top financial companies. Okay, let's say they
that have advisors like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's say that their compliance department these guys are pretty strict. Like, they're not about this podcast right now. They've logged off. Like, they don't want to do any of this. In 5 or 10 years, what will happen to them? Like,
to those companies?
Yeah.
I mean, if we stay on the trajectory we are on right now, they'll be gone. What people have to understand, that I don't even know if the regulators understand yet, is maybe they do. I don't know. Right? It's one of trying to read minds here. If the regulators don't get on board with catching up, there will be some kind of fundamental switch, rebalance, that we don't even know what it is.
Like a COVID or something, maybe.
No, like it's like Bitcoin and crypto came out of manipulation of fiat currencies. Right?
Sure.
We've been stretching and playing with fiat currencies too much, and then that came. Right? If you don't let the financial industry be like the rest of the world enough that it's so far behind that all the advisors retire, you can't recruit any young people to the industry. The average age is 60. So what shows you is what? There's no young people doing this. Okay? So you can't recruit young talent. You got all the old people leaving. There will come some fundamental case here where we're
rebalancing.
We're looking into like a full-on crash of the industry. And I know that sounds like doomy, gloomy, crazy. I don't know. But the amount of broker-dealers in the country drops by like 30 a month. We lose like 30 broker-dealers, firms, not individuals, firms, close their doors every single month in America. Like unsold, they close. Now, people are opening RIAs like they used to open BDs right now, but it's just a new version. Same thing's going to happen. It's just like a delayed reaction. But what's happened to all those assets and all those clients? Those BDs roll up. They roll into the mutual fund companies, and the money is just going back into the ethos, with these firms, and these clients aren't getting best interest. They're not getting fiduciary. They're not getting help because they're going straight to the fund companies. So, I don't know. It actually freaks me out.
Yeah,
like, that's how intense I feel.
Struck a nerve.
It's like if FINRA doesn't figure this out, and the regulators don't figure this out, I think there will be some kind of like really weird event in the future. Not around like 401ks, but as it relates to, there's only like 250,000 financial advisors, and they're all really old. So what happens when the number goes to like 30,000? Because they just age out and die. Then what happens to the rest of Americans who need financial help and there's nobody doing it?
Also, the ones who are there feel like they can't breathe because they can't get leads because they can't be where the leads are.
Right. Because the system changed. Can't knock on doors. People don't refer the way they used to.
Somebody knocked on my door and be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, the Amazon guy doesn't even knock. He just drops and leaves.
Yeah. Are you my sister or my neighbor or my friend?
Right. Then why are you here? And even they text me.
It's true.
Right? So, I mean, I miss being able to go by somebody's house and just showing up.
Yeah.
Without unannounced, right? But that's not the world we live in anymore.
It's true.
So.
Ooh, high stakes.
I think it is high stakes. I just don't think anybody wants to talk about it. And I don't want to be on FINRA's bad side. Yeah. I'm saying I'm concerned for the best interest of clients.
Sure.
I'm worried. What is happening to my industry? They're all old, and we're not recruiting any young people. All the companies have written these like letters and blogs. Everybody's talked about it. Like, what is going to happen here?
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary because we've got less pensions and defined benefit retirement programs than ever in history, yet we have less and less people in the industry to help with the stuff that everybody's gone to. How does that make sense? Our supply and demand's in like complete opposition of each other. It's weird. It's very strange. So
if you're considering financial services and are willing to battle a little bit, there's opportunity.
I mean, I think it's one of the best times in history to get into the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, even with all the kind of how regs are and things like that. Yeah, you can get around that. You can still win. That's the point.
That's right. So let's win.
Yeah.
Lead generation and digital marketing. So assuming you have set up a website,
Okay.
your company allows reviews, you have a few of those, and maybe, you got your Instagram profile. The next thing you can do is start thinking about local SEO, which I've talked to you about this a little bit, but probably not a lot. But financial advisors and any business that has like a local place, like especially if you have an office that someone can go to, even if you don't use an office, maybe you have a co-working space, or I don't know what advisors are doing these days working from home. But if you are in a physical area where you serve clients, in Google search, in Yahoo, whatever it is that, people are using, let's assume it's Google, there's something called the local search pack. And when I found this out years ago when I was doing marketing, I was like, there's just so much opportunity there. So if I'm in Crown Point, which I am, and I search financial advisor, Google knows where I live, they're more likely to show me your listing because you have trusted reviews, you have a website, Google knows who you are, you're on the map, than some big company. They're going to serve me up Josh Mock and Mink and Associates.
I don't know what it's listed.
Yeah, you're still...
Yeah, it's Joshua Mock and Lauren Mink.
Yeah. And that's amazing because someone just searches financial advisor near me. And, maybe you've been in business for 2 years, you have 5 Google reviews, and it feels like not a lot of anything. But in Google's local search pack, it's like mega. So like you have such a leg up. So I just wanted to mention a couple tools. So there's this website called Moz, MOZ.com.
Okay.
And they have a free local SEO section. It takes a little bit of clicking around to find it, but there are 3 things that I would look at. So the first is your local listing review. So it can check your listing, like your address, your name, your phone number, how people get a hold of you for any like errors or omissions, and their domain score, which will search your website for free and tell you if it has any compatibility issues, if Google's serving it up, when people are searching, if there's anything you need to fix. And then the third thing is their keyword explorer. So let's say you have a website and you have gone above and beyond and you made a blog. You can start to try to rank for keywords. So someone's like, searching a specific issue with a retirement plan or some question that they have surrounding that, the best age to retire. You happen to write a blog on that. You're ranking in the local search pack and you've optimized for these keywords. Whose website pops up first? Your website. Right. And those are free resources. They do have a paid version. I think you're limited to a certain amount of searches a day if you're not paying for it. But the everyday business owner doesn't really know about these, so I always like to just put it out there. Yeah. It's easy to remember, Moz.com. And it's super easy to use. It's like, my website is a 6 out of 100 domain score.
Lame-o.
Ouch. Which, when you first start out, it's fairly common. But the nice thing is it'll tell you what to fix. And there are other tools like this. Moz isn't the only one. There are lots of paid ones. If you really want to get into keyword research and like start finding gaps in resources online for certain topics, SEMrush is really great. I think it's like $90 a month. It's kind of a lot, but it will also do your local listing. It will send your information out to all the websites that list different businesses. Like Yext, which we use.
Which is another easy thing. Cheap subscription. Doesn't cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gets you on Amazon.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that's a great thing. Reviews. Google reviews.
Yeah.
SEO.
Yeah.
Where's Alexa pulling her info from?
I don't know. She's pretty smart.
She's really smart, but she's pulling it from this,
database
consortium of different places or whatever, and the AI behind it, right? But search is going to cease to, I think, be a thing in time. I think everything is going to go back to voice sooner or later.
Like Alexa.
Yeah, kind of like Alexa. Like, I love to text. One of my favorite ways to text, you've unfortunately experienced this, isn't the talk to text where then you have to tell it to like comma and exclamation point. I love to do the voice memos.
Sure.
Because I love to leave, I I don't want to get on the phone because I'm from the Midwest, right?
The first time I got one of those from you, I was like, uh-oh. Like,
what is this?
What is this? And it was just you had an idea that would have been very difficult to explain
otherwise.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And you can keep it or.
But we're from the Midwest, right?
Yeah.
So this might be a short. Who knows what I say? Like a comic gag. We're from the Midwest. It's like being from the South, but it's a little bit different.
It is.
It's like, hey Annette, how are you? This is how a phone call goes.
Yes.
Hey Annette, how are you? Oh, I'm great. Mm-hmm. Good. How's the dog? How's the wife? How's the kids? How's the blah 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 blah. Okay. Let's get down to it.
Yeah, you kind of do the pleasantries.
Yeah.
And then you're
like, no, okay, well, hey, you say goodbye. No, you take care. All right now. It just, people are so darn nice, which is what I love. Right?
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to get this data to you right now. Mm-hmm. Right. So like, I love that because I can just be like, hey, was thinking about this, blah, 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 blah. Boom. You drop it. Mm-hmm. Okay. You're done. Okay. Phone call doesn't take 8 minutes.
Sure.
Okay. I love to be that way with clients, but when it comes to work, I've always just want to be the guy that gets to hang up the phone at the end of phone calls without saying goodbye.
I actually really appreciate that about you because there's so much to get done, and I know I can just come to your office and be like, yada yada, I need to answer this. What about that?
Walk away,
and we're done.
Right,
and you're not hurt.
No,
because I didn't do the thing.
Enough pleasantries, or whatever. Yeah. So there's. I say all that because I think things are going back to voice in time, and I think there's a little bit of proof of that in the success of like Alexa and Chat GPT is now coming to iOS, stuff like that with AI integrations. But what that means to me is when search goes away, people aren't looking at the advisors with the best reviews. Mm-hmm. They're just going to soon be saying, "Hey Alexa, who's the top financial advisor by me?" And they're going to get what? One answer. You've got a choice to make right now.
Sure.
Which is if you were going to put your business in a place to be that one damn name that gets answered or not.
In your city, yeah.
Yep. And the person, because as like all these points with stuff, this stuff builds over time.
Yes.
Somebody can't come up behind you and just kick your ass if you've been like doing it really, really well for a long time.
I had an advisor tell me the other day, they're like, my website's live, and I searched for it on Google, and I can't find it. I'm like, that's because your website went live 2 days ago.
Nobody's gone to it yet.
Yeah.
And Google doesn't know that it exists.
Yeah. So we can force the crawl. We can have the bots check it out, which is going to help. You have no reviews.
It's not tied to reviews. It's tied to somewhere at Google.
Yeah, it's probably doesn't match your Yext listings or your like local address because that stuff changed recently. So we got to get that updated. Yeah. Like it's going to happen.
Yes.
And then it's going to pay dividends, but give it a minute.
Mm-hmm. It takes time.
Which is a good question. Like I totally get it.
And then send it to all your friends and family.
Yeah.
Tell them to Google your website.
Yeah.
Or go to the website. Give them the link. Anything. Get more people from more
reading
IP
on it, clicking
to
it.
go and scan every single page on the website, right?
Yeah, so I guess my point is it's amazing, but it's not magic.
It's not magic.
Yeah, which I think sometimes we sell this stuff like, it's X amount increase.
But that's where old school meets new school.
Yeah.
We were talking like the old school. Like this is where the old school used to be like you would put in the legwork, like the language. You'd really talk people through things and the legwork, like I said, going to meet people. This is like, I'm trying to get my website to exist and show up on Google. So, hey, could you go to my Google My Business, go there, search advisors name me, find me, click on my website, then go there. You're a close friend of mine. Just scroll through all the pages and spend a little time on the website, click a bunch of the links and crap. It would really help me out. You're not asking them to do a testimonial or anything like that you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right? You're just asking them to just do the click path.
Even, hey, check out my website. Let me know what you think of it. Like, was it helpful?
Yeah.
And that kind of feedback can be really useful too.
I think if you do that kind of stuff, like when I drop my website, I send it to everybody. And
no shame.
No shame. I have no shame as it comes to publicizing my desire to do well for people. Why would you be shameful about that?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
What else we got? This is a fun topic because I want advisors to win. That's the whole point of this darn podcast.
That's right.
Like, I have an RIA. I have my own company, right? And an national insurance, risk management company. And we have a broker-dealer association. We do all these different lines of business stuff. But, like, this is for everybody. Mm-hmm. This is for the whole ecosystem, because I think, like, as an industry, we need to get better.
Yeah.
Period. Like, not just my firm. Everybody's got to raise the tide together, because we are not doing that well. And
people need services.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one company can't do it all. I mean, look, I love my company and I hope we do huge things. Okay?
Yes.
But, like, the industry as a whole needs to get a lot better to serve people more deeply at the level they should be served, and make it easy. So,
last thing I'll say in that section, I kind of alluded to this before. I'll just highlight. So I talked about keywords.
Yeah.
So there's the short tail keyword and the long tail. So short tail have like a high search volume. So it's like a financial advisor. It's very generic. It's usually like 1 or 2 words. But where you can really start to gain traction is with the long tail keywords. And if you're someone who's pretty good at writing, or you have an assistant who is good at writing or skilled at maybe utilizing a little chat GPT, but not copy paste. I really love AI as a resource, but I've yet to see it create something where I'm like, send it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And because it sounds like a robot a little bit.
Yeah, it's not good. But it's like when you're in that place where you're just kind of stuck and needing a little I think it's a great resource. But long story short, long tail keywords are easier to rank for. So if you're talking about something more specific, you have knowledge in a specific area, you're an expert at something. If you create a routine, maybe it's even once every 2 weeks, but you're just writing really valuable content online, you're creating a blog. This can bring extreme value to your website. It can help your domain score. It can help you generate more leads online. And it's another one of those things that doesn't feel real exciting on the front end. But when someone calls you and says, hey, I didn't realize like how big of a deal this was, like, can we get a meeting to talk about that? It's like, oh.
Yeah.
So something to look into. I think people have kind of went away from that a little bit. It's just another thing to do. But if it fits in your wheelhouse and it's not a heavy lift, do it.
Do it. Or call somebody who knows.
Yeah.
Like, invest in your business is the only thing I'll add to that.
That's right.
There's people in every local resource who could help you with that. You pay a little bit of money, pay somebody that go through compliance. All that being said with compliance. Okay.
Yes.
Assume you've done compliance. Okay. Get a website built. Have somebody do it. Pay somebody $3,000 to $5,000, whatever it costs now, whatever, somewhere in that zone for a smaller website. Get your website. Is it more? I don't know. Is it worse now? I don't even know. I've had internal people now for a while, so I don't know anymore. But get a good website built.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody who knows SEO. Work with them.
Which, with the tools I mentioned, you could investigate a web building company.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Some of those firms.
It's like, what websites have you built? How long have they been up? Okay, this is a 5-year-old website. It should have some traction. Let's put it into Moz.
Oh, yeah. You can cross-test other companies' websites in there.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, but I think this is a good point. So we've been kind of speaking like you're going to do all of this yourself, you or your team. But
if you're an advisor that's been doing this a while, you're busy.
Yeah.
But you also should have some success at this point. And you should be investing 10% of your revenue, in my opinion, back into branding and marketing of your, and lead gen, like that kind of world, what we're talking about. You should be pouring that money back in because it's going to pay back tenfold.
But if you're in a position where you need to do this yourself, it's totally feasible with the tools out there right now. It's getting yes, and the tools like Squarespace or what have you, they're just getting easier and easier.
For sure.
So we've talked about CRM, digital presence, social media. Gosh, I don't really know where to go next. We kind of alluded to automation, but we could talk about that a little more because you gave it a 0.
We talked a lot about CRM, and it's inside of that.
Yeah.
Automations are going to be inside of a CRM system, some sort that's going to help you with things like client follow-up. Like I don't want to book my semi-annual review. Let's say you do semi-annuals. I don't want to book that. I want a calendar link.
Yeah.
I want an automation that knows that it's been 6 months.
For you and your client.
Correct.
Like, I want someone to tell me. I don't want to be like, oh, I need to remind my advisor that we should talk. And
I want that to come out to them at about the 5-month mark, saying schedule this for about a month out. Find a good time for you, and we're going to do your review. And by the way, in the body of the email, here's what to expect on a review and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just want that to go out, and then I just look at my calendar and I see John Johnson for Wednesday at 2:00, and I'm like, great.
Yeah, for sure.
He's getting reminders and everything else. Like I said, just like his dentist, you want the experience with you to feel like the experience with other professionals.
Yep. I'll speak to just a few other things in this section, then we can jump out of it. But if you aren't in a place where you currently have a CRM that's like checking all the boxes that we're talking about, there are things you can use to start to piece it together. They might not all talk to each other perfectly, but if you want to do email marketing automation, you can use things like ActiveCampaign, Constant Contact, or MailChimp. None of them are very expensive. I've used all of those at different points. Actually, I've used ActiveCampaign and MailChimp. An ActiveCampaign gets really into the analytics and it's more detailed. MailChimp is just a little simpler, though they're changing that. And if you really want to dive into social media, I actually advocate for posting your own content. In that case, I feel like the platforms seem to respect and prioritize content that you just post from your phone better.
Versus like a Hootsuite.
Yeah. So
you're scheduling it or something.
But if your, schedule's really tapped and you're like, I have 1 day a month that I can dedicate to this, so I'm going to gather some content and just schedule it all out. Hootsuite, Buffer, or actually for free, you can use a Facebook business account and actually schedule content for Instagram and Facebook right in there.
Or hire your teenager.
Yeah, which they would probably be thrilled to make a little cash.
Well, and that's also something really fun, right? If you hire your teenager, you can pay them, and then you can put that money into a Roth IRA.
Hey,
you can
spoken like a financial advisor there.
Like a financial, you can do all kinds of cool stuff for your kids, even and employ them in some capacity if you have your own LLC.
Yep,
because they're doing real work. I mean, so that's great. They're doing stuff that you don't know how to do or don't like doing, and for them, it's like easy because they're on there all day.
Yes.
I mean, you ever watched a 15-year-old on an iPhone?
Yeah.
You think you know tech. You're like watching them and you're like, how?
What did you just do?
The speed in which that child is texting right now. It's just, So I think there's something to be said about that too. It can really help with stuff like that.
Definitely. And then there are all types of things you can use for task reminders and organization, like Monday.com. I really like Google. If you use Google at all, like Google Tasks, like there's a whole like ecosystem of stuff. Even if you just have a personal account, a lot of that's free when you have a personal account. Yeah. Once you get the custom domain, I mean, I think it's $12 a month or something, which is like, so check that out. Check out Google Workspace. And then the last thing, I'm curious your thoughts on this. We haven't talked about this much. It kind of fits into automation, but it's also in another category, which is document management and e-signatures. Yowza.
That's mainly down to your firm, though.
Yeah.
Which could be really highly out of your control for a listener right now. So, I mean, most companies, most planning software, your planning software, they're using, they have a file vault. Right. Most of those have a file vault of some sort inside of them with a worm software or something they're using. So a write once, read many, your client notes. And,
we were talking about that this week.
Yeah, so client notes and things that you need to put in there after a review, let's say, and what you discussed and so on and so forth. But that's going to be pretty much out of your control. But these are those kind of conversations that, if you're at a smaller firm that's a little more boutique, you can have a conversation about maybe, hey, could we upgrade this? And here's why. Yeah. But hard for an advisor to take their own. The companies provide that typically, unless you're totally independent. And the totally independents can just go do a little research and find some great brands for that stuff.
Yeah, I don't have any specific data on this, but I helped purchase a property recently, and I had to go into the office for part of it to sign something, and there was like a scheduled appointment like 4 days out, and it was like a really time sensitive event. That was weird. I had to be physically there.
Yeah.
And I've done, I own my own business. I've done many things, and they always just sent me a DocuSign. It was like, fine.
Yeah, I think most of the big firms have jumped over to DocuSign, I think. Not 100% on that, but most have. And it's just due to the desire and the request from, and it was COVID. That was born out of COVID.
Okay.
Companies had to. How are they going to get a client to sign something if you weren't allowed to see people?
Yeah.
So then they were like, oh, man, we better figure out this digital signature thing real quick, or otherwise we're not going to open any new accounts.
Which sounds bad.
That's not good for quarterly earnings. So, yeah.
So I don't know how we're doing on time, but things that we haven't really gotten into in a deeper level would be the AI conversation. We kind of touched on all of that. We could talk about compliance more.
I'm going to do a whole compliance episode.
Okay,
actually,
we're good there.
Not one. I will have multiple CCOs on the show.
Yeah.
So if you're watching, watch for CCO. If you're really like wanting to learn about compliance type stuff, we're going to have CCOs on the show. They'll be up from all different RIAs around the country. I have multiple that have already agreed to do the show. And we're going to talk about compliance from BDs.
Okay.
And compliance even at the RIA level. And for insurance-only licensed people and how those vary, depending on what lines you're in or where you kind of work. That's because those are long conversations and there's a lot there.
I think you definitely need to have the compliance one. So with all my nerdy statistics, 68% of advisors say compliance is the primary barrier to adopting new tech and marketing.
Not good.
Not good. Important, but let's figure it out, right?
Got to figure it out. You just got to open up the conversation. You just got to get to a place where there's open lines of communication and you can start to work through things. Yeah. We got to get bipartisan on this, right? It's like we gotta win, and compliance has to go, hey, the company wants to win, client, and we need to help clients and we need to help more clients. Let's figure out how to do that. Let's work together to do this.
And be attractive to new young talent. Yeah, so I think I would just recap by saying if anything has resonated and we didn't get into it enough, chat in the comments and we'll try to dig in more. And I think overall, adopting this approach is going to help you increase your client satisfaction and improve your business.
Yeah, the last thing I'd say that you just, all of this, to kind of put a wrapper on it, is if you've got a more aged book right now, you got a book of a little older clients. They've been around. They're used to you doing things the way you do things. Mm-hmm. They're okay with you not being online, let's say.
Sure.
Because you weren't now. And they weren't, and they don't expect it from you now. But I can't remember the number. You'd have to look it up. It's a big number of the percentage of assets that leave an advisor post the primary dying.
Okay.
The succession. Okay. Beneficiaries don't keep their money with their parents' financial advisor. It's a really bad number for the practice. Those assets tend to leave. And one of the major reasons for that is, number one, that's the easiest to know, is the advisor doesn't have a relationship with those beneficiaries. Number one.
Approximately 66% of children do not stay with the advisor.
So there you go. Quick Google search, and you found 66%, according to some survey. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a big number, right? As I was saying.
Oh.
I think it's bigger than that as the total.
Yeah, it is. It says in terms of beneficiaries, the same study suggests that only 2% stay with their parents' advisor after inheriting assets.
So if that's even accurate, whatever. It's 80, 90 plus %. Wow. It's a big number. And I experienced this in my previous firm, and I've seen this over the years where people, RIAs, trad IRAs, whatever, people died, the money leaves. It goes somewhere else.
So the first statistic was just if your parents have X advisor, do you use that same advisor? 66% do not.
Okay.
In terms of beneficiaries, if you inherited their assets, once that happens, 2%.
It's really bad.
That's really bad. Because you would think it would be like, oh, Bob. Like my dad always talked about how, he did a great job, yada, yada. Like you would think
you have a 2% chance of staying with that guy.
Yeah.
Once your dad passes kind of thing, right?
Yikes.
Oh, bueno. So you think of some advisor, he goes, I'm managing $100 million. And then all of a sudden I get to keep $2 million.
Yeah.
Right. And you probably won't because you're aging out, right? So there's the one problem we talked about that earlier. But the issue here is that you don't know the beneficiaries.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know the kids. You don't have a relationship with the kids. And the problem is this. The dad's 70 right now. Right? Mom's 67, whatever. Okay. Their kids, right, are in their 40s or something, right? Their kids fully 100% expect you to be doing everything we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Dad does not. Kid does. Financial advisor goes, my clients don't expect me to do this. Mm-hmm. Your clients don't, but the assets do. Is maybe a better way to think of it. Ooh. The money will leave. So the reason you got to fix it is because to attract the young client, you need it. And to keep the old money, you need it. Because that's one of the things. If you got to know that person, if you even did a meeting just to get to know them, and then you had them on an email drip campaign with just educational stuff that you send out, that's just cool. You're at least improving the odds dramatically. In the case of that inevitable timing,
sure.
Right? Which it's going to happen sooner or later, depending on how old you are, what's going to happen. And that's also a thing for your successor as a system, for your buyer, right? If you're selling your business, to say, I've got a really great relationship with about 40% of my clients' beneficiaries. And if you knew that number and they were like, you're like, they're in my CRM, they get communications from us, they know us just like we know their parents. The stick ratio on that money is much higher, which would raise the valuation on your business. Or it would at least make a buyer a lot more comfortable to buy your book, when it's time for you to make an exit. So I think that's important. So, but all these things come together. They come together, and they're all really important. It's not important to do them all at once. You got time. So I think you just got to be aggressively patient. You got to be working on it, but be okay with the fact that it's not going to be done overnight. But if you looked up in a year or two from now, even in 2 years from now, you looked up and you're like, man, I got a website. I'm posting on, people find me online. I've had some clients come in from online. I got a CRM. If in a couple of years you had these things pretty dialed in, you would see a dramatic uptick in new business, and a decrease in cortisol levels in yourself, because you'd be feeling a whole hell of a lot better because
overall well-being.
Yeah, your overall well-being would be a lot better.
It's good.
Yeah. So this episode was a lot of fun because I feel like because you're always so prepared, I got interviewed again, which was great.
You were supposed to interview me, right?
Yeah. So in episode 4, which for everybody to look forward to, I'm meeting with one of my good friends who's had a massive IMO in the fixed business. So you're talking about insurance products world. So life products, fixed indexed annuities, MYGAs, kind of all that stuff.
Nice. Big
trending stuff with interest rates right now, has been for a while. Where does that take place? Where does that fit in the financial advising practice? Where does that fit in client portfolios and solutions right now for people? So we're talking about that episode 4. Excited to be seeing him in person here in North Carolina next week. And we're going to do an in-person episode for episode 4 with my buddy Walker Ham. So excited about that.
The accent. It's going to be great.
So yeah, everybody's going to love that. Walker's accent. So anyways, appreciate everybody being on. Yeah. Thank you, Annette. Good night.
All right, see you.
All right, welcome to the disclosures for the Advisors Collective. The conversations on this podcast are intended to provide financial advisors with ideas, strategies, concepts, and tools that could be incorporated into their advisory practice. Advisors are ultimately responsible for ensuring implementation and compliance of anything discussed in according with your regulatory and compliance responsibilities and obligations. These discussions are meant purely for educational purposes. None of the information heard should be taken as financial advice or planning. The conversations and opinions that are expressed in the show are that of each host only and do not necessarily reflect the opinion of the other hosts and their affiliated companies. This podcast is not intended to give tax, legal, or investment advice. Always consult with a qualified professional. For my practice, securities are offered through Cape Securities Incorporated, member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory accounts are offered through Terra Wealth Management.